Oh,
Hello.
hello. Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Sweet. Okay. I'm not seeing any button that says record. Did I do that right then, or I can't remember if I need there's supposed to be a button that says record.
It says live already, so I think it's recording.
Oh, okay, sweet. All right, yeah. I started it at like 8:55 just in case. I was like, well, I'll just start recording now, even if there's an extra 5 minutes.
Yeah, now you should be good.
Oh, okay. Whew. I was looking up online. I'm like, I think I did this right. I like looking up I was like, how to record it. I'm like, okay,
I think as long as it says live, it's recording.
sweet.
But
How?
check with Haley.
Okay. All right, yeah. How have you been?
I'm good. Very good. How are you?
Doing good. Just I'm doing a research class because the senior research class and it's all stats now. Like we've done like just a lot of research and
Yeah.
we did our group project, but now it's just stats and I haven't done stats in 2 years, so it's been fun to go over stats again.
If I had to revisit stats, that would not go well.
Yeah,
It went well the first time, but that was years ago now. So
yeah, exactly. He's like, all right, like hopefully you guys have SPSS, or he's like, if not, here's these free programs. And I'm like, I have SPSS. I'm just gonna stick with that.
hey, Brandon.
Hi.
Well, I found out a couple days ago my husband has an internship to finish his last semester of his degree. He got assigned to one in Illinois, and I'm living in Minnesota, so that starts in like 2 weeks. So I'm trying to like go through all our stuff, pack all our stuff, get ready to move down there for a few months. So.
Oh, geez.
Where in Illinois is it?
It's close to Joliet, so it's like an hour west of Chicago.
Okay, all right. That's cool. That's exciting.
Yeah.
It is. It's
How have
awesome.
you been, Brandon?
What's that?
How have you been?
Oh, pretty good. Speaking of internships, there's a guy in my ward who has. I'm on my last semester too, and I was doing trying to find an internship that would fit me around Atlanta, Georgia. But this guy in my ward has his own company, and he's like, dude, why don't I just teach you everything about real estate and investment properties, and you can do an internship for me right now.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Okay.
And I'm taking 16 credits and doing 8-hour days for the internship, but there's only a couple weeks left, so it's been
That's
pretty busy.
crazy. Holy cow.
Yeah,
Then done.
yeah. Then you're done. That's awesome. I have 24 credits left, so so it's just 2 12 semesters for me, and so I'm getting there too. I'm just like almost there, trying to finish strong. Trying to finish strong. It's hard. Some days I'm just like I don't want to do this anymore.
I hear it'll all be worth it when we're done.
That's what I'm being told repeatedly and everything, and that's what I talk to post to say that too.
Well, look, there's 25 days left in the semester.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, let's see. Hang on. I'm just checking.
Haley just tried to call me on Google Hangouts. I'm gonna try to. She's somewhere around. Let me see if I can figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
Did you send the link to her Gmail files?
I sent it to her BYU Idaho. Should I send it to her Gmail?
Maybe that's why. I don't know.
Yeah. What's her Gmail again?
Excellent question. One second.
Let me look. I think I have it on my email. I use both my school and my just personal email, so that's
Same here.
Haley.
Was it just Haley Ledford at Gmail?
Is it okay? Hang on. Is just her name?
Yeah, just Haley Ledford at Gmail, I think.
Okay. Oh, here it is. Yeah. Okay. Invite. So she just got the email. Hopefully, I'm using it. Came up from my the past. I think last time when I did it, it was like, oh, here's your previous person you used.
Yeah.
So hopefully she gets that. I was checking my Idaho email. I was like, maybe she. I was like, send an email, but I didn't see anything. No. Hopefully she gets it. Let's hope she comes up.
I liked how this case study was only 5 pages.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I opened it and I was like, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it was a pretty simple one. Pretty short, pretty easy. My family on both sides of my dad and my mom's all pretty much 80% of them are in the medical field. So there's doctors, nurses, and PAs, and so I've heard a lot about these issues. They'll complain about it too. So it's really familiar to me. So it's kind of funny to hear a similar situation for the case. And then I was trying to remember what my cousins and relatives had said about oh, this is how we solved it, or what they thought should happen and stuff. Let's see. Did she try to message you on Google Hangout, Rebecca?
She did. I am trying to. I answered her, but she hasn't said anything else yet.
Okay, I was
I feel like you were saying, those jobs would be they go to they have such hard education and it's expensive, and they go to work for so long, and then the job is so frustrating. And
yeah, I mean, a lot of them don't. A lot of the people, especially nurses, when they go in, it's funny how they do that. Most nurses go into the ER, and the thought process is to give them that experience, obviously, to give them the experience in the ER, just because that is usually a high demand in most hospitals. But at the same time, it's a huge burnout for a lot of the nurses, because they go on these crazy schedules of 1 week it's all morning, and then the next week it could be all night shift. So it's for a lot of my sister's a nurse, and she hated that when she first did it. But most nurses do the ER for at least 2 years, but usually it's 4. And I would hate doing that. Not every week, it's not every other week where they switch, drastically, but it is a pretty intense schedule with 4 days of 12-hour shifts sometimes, or 5 days of 10 hours.
Yeah.
Brutal. Yeah. And gross. Medical stuff is gross. Not for me.
You.
Got the link. I'm having issues joining. I'll keep trying. I have no idea what that means.
Yeah, me neither. Hang on. Let's see. Screen on. I wonder why she'd have issues.
Can we add her to the call or anything?
I can't. I'm trying to see what I can do. Hang on, let me see. I'm trying to look around on here. There is a link. Let me just send her the direct.
Yeah, I'd try that.
Yeah, I'm looking. Hang on. I think I'm sending the right one. Copy. Let me. Let me see if this works. I just sent her supposedly the right link. Let's see.
It's a trap.
Right. Let me see. Oh, yeah. Okay. Sent it. Hope this works. Okay. Let's see. All right. So, I had a question as far as the case study. Obviously, we have to do a write up for it, but because in the instructions for the case study write up, we have there's 4 questions we can talk as a group, and then obviously the second part is write it up, and it has the root problems and stuff like that. Did we want to talk about that too, or do we want to not really address that part of it? keep, going more in detail to the write-up.
Should we discuss questions like that we're going to answer in our write-ups?
Daily. There we go. It finally worked. I've been trying it for like the last 5 minutes.
Sorry about that.
No, it's not even you. I think it was my computer, so don't even worry about it.
Okay. I think it's Miles' fault. Come on, Haley.
Okay, Miles, it's all your fault.
Okay. Well,
I would say to just start with the questions on the agenda, and then if we have more time, we could go back and hit those questions, I guess.
Okay. That's fine. I was just looking at them just because I was trying to think in the past if we ever actually talked about our possible answers for the write-up or not. But anyways, let's get started. I can say the prayer real quick. Hang on. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this time that we have to be able to meet as a group and to be able to discuss this week's reading. And please help us to be able to understand it and be able to use it in our careers and in our personal lives to be able to understand it. And please help us with the rest of our classes that we can be able to do well these last few weeks of the semester. And we say these things in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Yeah, if I wear my hat, I generally don't like to take it off because obviously I have hat hair. So, okay. Let's see. All right. So let's see. Okay, yeah. Go into the reading. So, I really like the reading just because a lot of my family is in the medical field. Haley, you missed that. I was just saying earlier. So, 80% of my family's in the medical field, and I thought about going into it. So, it interests me. But with that, I guess after reading the article, the first question is just asking, how well has Barbara Norris done in her first month as nurse manager of GSU? Was she a good choice for the position?
I don't think she was necessarily a bad choice for the position. I mean, because I don't think she's made any significantly bad moves. It seems like she didn't do a lot yet. She was trying to figure out the problems, which was good, and hear from people. But I don't feel like she came in and did things that were counterproductive and wrong.
Yeah, I think if she would have come in though and just said, we're going to change this, this, and this, I don't think that would have done anything for morale. I think she was trying to figure out. I think it's good because she seems to have a good attitude about this can be changed, instead of some people coming in and saying, well, this is how it's always been.
And people being it's a lost cause, just don't even.
Yeah,
right.
Her mentor or whatever said that it was just a lost cause and just don't even take the job. But she is up for the challenge and she wants the challenge, and she knows that she came from a team that does work, and so that she can take what she learned there and apply it to this new team, because she can see the differences. And I think getting those people in that meeting, in that off-site meeting, to talk about it and to talk about their issues, I think that's a good first step. That I just think that needs to happen more, that they need to be able to confront people and open up, because I think they'll realize that more people are feeling the same way.
Yeah. I thought she did pretty dang well for, grabbing everyone from all the different departments and all the experience levels and putting them in one room. And then they're like, all right, well, what's the problem? And then the seniors were like, oh, well, the juniors pester us, blah, blah, blah. And then the juniors were like, all they do is complain about me. So I feel like that was a good get it out there on the table move. But I like how she's not, kind of what Haley was saying, she didn't go in and just say, okay, this is how it's going to be from now on. Because, these are people who worked in that part of their departments and everything for 5, 10, 15 plus years. You're not just going to change it on the dot. But she's trying to get to the root problems to fix those issues and to fix what's causing them. You know, I would even maybe say that she should get like all the seniors together, all the junior nurses together, all the doctors together, and specifically take each one of their complaints and maybe kind of like funnel down the ones that are like, okay, well, you're just being immature, you need to grow up, like be professional, or wow,
Yeah.
that is a legitimate cause. You do need more nurses or something, you know?
Right. Or the nurses need more training, or what were they,
Yeah.
CCA, yeah. That
yep.
something else I realized or just realized now after you guys' comments, which I really liked, was the is that she heard a lot. Like she even was aware of like the general culture, like the backstabbing, the confrontation. You know, like, and even though it'd been a few years for her from being away from work because of raising her kids, is that when she went back, like you guys said, she kind of, you know, talked to the people and listened to them, especially at the offsite, is that she, you know, it's almost like she confirmed those, like, almost like rumors to her, is that, you know, it's like, it's one thing to hear that, you know, like, oh, this is how it is, but, you know, she might have just heard that from other people, like a few people. And so it's like, I thought that was really good, smart of her to make sure it was like, this is what the actual issues, or at least what the employees view the issue as, just because that gives it a take. Because she might think it's these issues, but then that doesn't help if it's, you know, if your employees have different view. And so it's almost like she confirmed like that, you know, she had a hypothesis like, oh, these are the issues that I've heard about. Let me go see if they're real. But yeah, like if there is issues with confrontation, backstabbing, and etc.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting, like the comment from the senior nurse or something where she was saying, like, I feel like I'm taking care of machines more than taking care of people, and I have so much work, like I have to like pick and choose, and I can't do everything I'm supposed to do, and so that's why it's such a burden for me when the younger, like less experienced people come to me. I thought that was really interesting because it was coming across that like the senior nurses just didn't like the newer people, but really what it was is she's frustrated with like the job itself, like the activities, and also that she was overwhelmed, but it was coming off as like, I don't like you and you're a problem, but really she's like, I'm just overwhelmed, and it's not necessarily that I don't want to help you, it's that I have to pick and choose and I can't do everything because we're understaffed.
Right.
So I think that's where the problem may have been different than what Barbara may have thought, like going into the offsite meeting.
Yeah. Overall, I think she's done a good job her first month going into that situation.
I agree.
Okay, yeah, let's see. No, definitely. Okay, I'm trying to. Okay, here's the other questions. All right, so yeah. So the next one is just what changes is she trying to make and why? Talking about Barbara.
Well, she's trying to bring the team together. I think that's one. She wants them to work as a team, like her other group did. And I think she's trying to open the communication a little bit. And I think that's what she did with the meeting, is that they need to communicate instead of talking bad about everybody behind their back and complaining behind everybody's back. They're trying to open it up and say, this is my problem with you, and this is my problem with what's going on. And then she asked, well, what changes, what solutions do you guys have, right? Trying to make them think like for themselves about coming up with their own solution.
Yeah.
Even though nobody answered. But
Yeah.
still, I think eventually they will, once they feel comfortable like talking and like opening up that line of communication.
Yeah, that definitely takes time to work up to. And it talked about her trying to make that change where, I don't remember if she said it to the people or if it was just like her thinking like, if we have this problem with filing, do you want me to take some of the nursing hours and pay for a, secretary, or do you want to just like handle it yourselves and keep the hours? Like, I can let you decide on that, like to really bring them in so they can fix their own problems, which is empowering. So they're not just like, I can't do anything about my situation.
Right?
Yeah.
Feel a part of the team and feel a part of the solution. I think that'll raise morale a lot.
Yeah. That's so true. I think they'll open up more and more with not only problems, but then solutions to problems when they're like, kind of what I was suggesting before, like get all the senior nurses together and be like, from your experience, what do you think is wrong? Then blah, 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 blah. Okay. What do you think you can do to fix it? And what do you think I could do to help you fix it?
Right.
And that type of
Well,
stuff.
yeah, that you could ask them in your experience, what has worked, because obviously they haven't all worked there their entire career, probably, They may have worked, or even if they have, 10 years ago, it may not have been like this. And they could have said, well, when so-and-so was in charge, we had weekly meetings of whatever, and that seemed to work. Or, you could just kind of,
Yeah.
I think that's good to bring them into the solution making.
Yeah, and I think the different experience levels, separating them could also be helpful, because then for the senior people, you can say, you've been here, you've seen all these people come and go, what do you think are the problems? But then for the new people, you can say, you're coming in with fresh eyes to this group. What do you, what problems do you see? Because you haven't been a part of the problem. You're brand new. What needs to change? Gonna plug in my computer.
But yeah, it's I was looking at the list, how she came up with a list after the offsite of like the top 10 issues she saw or problems that they would discuss. And it was like our culture doesn't value collaboration and network teamwork, and then it's like you can't count on others to help you. I think those are pretty two big ones, especially after reading the other article, the Harvard one on employee motivation. Just like it really stuck out that obviously, especially from what the people said, like when they had the offsite, it just sounds like they're not obviously working together to help each other. And it's more like I do this, I do that, like this is what I do versus how can I help like the others.
Right. Yeah, it seems like teamwork and communication are like the root problem of this whole thing.
Right, definitely. And so here's the next one. The next question is, what are 3 obstacles to affecting change? Because there's a lot more than 3, but it's asking, what are 3 obstacles to affecting change Noah should anticipate, and how should she address them?
I think one of the biggest things that's kind of stopping the change and adding to complacency is the directors and the people who are in charge of the financing for the hospital and everything. Maybe because that department has a reputation for being negative and high turnover rate and everything else like that. Me as a manager, I wouldn't want to invest money into a place where employees are constantly being turned over and where there's not good feedback and the patient care is going decreasing. It just wouldn't make sense financially to back that up with more nurses. So I think if she were to get with the management and the directors and kind of sit down and be like, all right, we've known all these issues. We've gone through every department, every person one-on-one. This is our strategy and our plan to change it, but we need X, Y, Z of money in order to do that, or it's going to remain the same. I think that helped a lot with that.
Yeah. And I think definitely if she comes to them with like a solution, like these are the different options we have to fix this problem. Yeah. And this is where we need your help, because she can't just go to them and complain, right? Or else that's just part of the problem. She needs to come with solutions.
They're going to be like, it's your job to find the solution. Go find it.
Yeah, that's why we hired you. So, no, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I think also a big thing, just from talking with my relatives who work in hospitals or just in the medical field, most of the hospitals, they're nurses. A lot of them are nurses, and they said that something that really helps as far as teamwork, like at least foster it, is when the more senior nurses lead by example by helping each other, like helping the younger ones, just because it is like a new experience, especially in your first, like they said, like most nurses in their first 5 years obviously are still learning a lot, but by the time they're around like 4 years to 5 years, they have a pretty good handle and grasp of, like, depending on what department you're in, if it's trauma or, like the pregnancy section, is that they have that experience. So like when the older nurses help them out, kind of just even though like that one nurse said like I have to help other people, it's like helping, as if you help train that younger person, like they're obviously more effective caretaker, and they're more effective at their job.
Right. Even if I was even thinking, even if they had like a buddy system where you kind of, with a newbie, when like a new nurse comes in, you kind of set them up with a nurse that's been there 5-7+ years,
Like a mentor program.
Right. And so they can kind of shadow them, or if that new nurse has a question, they go to that nurse with their question or something, and they're the ones that are working the same shifts and things like that. So you kind of buddy people up, and so that they have somebody when they have questions or concerns to go to when they're new,
Yeah, and you think if they had that person and they received that help, then they would be so much more effective, and they'd be able to take some of the load off of the senior nurses. So when they're, I don't know, if they're threatened by the younger nurses, or they don't want to take the time, or they feel overwhelmed, whatever it is, if they got them up to speed as quickly as possible by like helping these newer nurses along, it would help them definitely take the load off as well.
And I think if more experienced nurses knew that this is my buddy, basically, you could come up with another word for it, but they know that they're responsible for them. I think they won't be as annoyed when like they just keep coming up and asking them questions, because that's part of their job. And I think if you go to those more experienced nurses and say, hey, this is how we're building our program. You were all new once too, think of a mentor that you had, and you need to be that for somebody else. You're now in the position that you can mentor somebody else and let them know how things work around here, and then our program can work smoothly instead of just complaining about it,
Yeah, I think that would add meaning to your work too, right? Kind of like thinking of yourself as like a mentor and helping someone along in their career.
Right.
I think that can help with that mindset.
I think possibly, I don't know if this is like, if you're thinking of like which issues are the biggest, but I was thinking that maybe the back talking and complaining about each other was another one. I don't know where I'd rank it, like on a scale from 1 to 10, or even just on their scale, what's most important. But I feel like the backbiting and complaining can definitely lower morale. Like that one, the one lady said on the offsite meeting how she overheard these nurses talking about her, and how, she's like, look, I'm just trying to do my best, you know what I mean? But it obviously affected her and her. And so I think that definitely has a domino effect of morale, is the backbiting and gossiping about or complaining about each other.
Yeah, and if you go to work and you feel like everything you do is wrong, like how excited are you actually go to work,
Yeah.
And nurses become nurses because that's what they want to do. They want to help people. Like, it's not just another job. Like, I think it's a very special job. And so they're there because they want to be there, not just to get a paycheck. And so to take somebody that is very excited to be a nurse and then just beat them down, like that's hard to go to work like that.
And that talking behind people's back, then they don't trust each other, so they're not willing to talk to each other's faces, and it just downward spiral keeps getting worse and worse, right?
Right.
Yeah. Might even be worth it to, I don't know, instead of just her tackling all these issues, maybe to establish some type of HR representative. I know it probably costs more money to do so, but then that way they can be able to have like just one-on-one personal issues brought up to that person, and then have HR trainings like every other month or every week or whatever's needed. Yeah. Just be like, this is how you handle a situation.
You could even have a nurse representative where like you basically this is something you'd have to go to administration for, but it could even be one of the nurses. Like, they're basically the advocate, I guess, for other nurses, saying this is the issues we're having. Hold on, my phone's ringing.
And I would say especially if she has another meeting with people to like talk about the issues, like it would be helpful to tell them ahead of time, okay, we're going to talk about problems that you have at work. I'm willing to share, you know, what's making work hard for you, but also think of something that would make you feel better or that would help resolve this situation, you know, so that instead of it being like all negative in the meeting, like you were saying, she was trying to come up with like a way to have like a positive end to it, where if people were like, I have this problem with this person, so if you could try to do this, that would make me feel better. I think that adds like a positive note to it as well. So it's not all just like all this crap that everybody's upset about. It's like, okay, there's hope and here's what could be done to help resolve it. Coming from the person that has the issue. I think that could make it better.
Yeah.
Definitely. Let me see. I guess this isn't one of the questions on the, at least that I'm reading on here is, but I was just thinking, I was trying to think of like a solution, you know, for them as far as that. And I know that goes more into obviously the case study write up, but I was just trying to think right now because I need to obviously write my write up.
Did we bring up that they should have like monthly, or I think they need to start doing like the weekly meetings, like have more of those off. It doesn't even need to be the off-site, but just like every group have a weekly meeting and you kind of bring up issues that you're having and then you kind of write those down and then the representative from that group like emails it to whatever, Barbara, saying, okay, this is what we discussed in our meeting this week. These are the issues we're having. Whatever, you know?
Yeah, because it could help get the ball rolling on the talking openly and starting to trust each other a little more if you do it more regularly.
Yeah. And then you can start to see the gaps in like training, saying like, this keeps happening with the nurses or this keeps happening. And so this obviously needs to be brought up, but it can be brought up a lot sooner than when it becomes just a huge morale dump where it's like, this has been happening for months and you know. So
that'd be a good time
to meetings.
Like delegate certain things and then to keep them accountable and follow up every week.
Mm-hmm.
Just lost.
Yeah, I like those definitely. And so with that, just because, you know, I was reading the other stuff, like the Harvard, the motivation one, and I was trying to pull like, okay, like what, you know, obviously they like said this is how, as far as improving these things, and I was trying to like use that as like figure out how I could use that into a solution as far as just all their issues. Trying to see. So, is there any other questions? I'm trying to. Not seeing any. Hang on.
Well, there's kind of the ones about each of the 4 drives, like how they spoke to each one on the group discussion agenda. Were you asking about questions to discuss?
Yeah. So I'm trying to find that. What the heck? I didn't see that.
Like it's under the group activity.
Oh. Wow. Okay. Totally. The heck? Sorry, hang on. I'm just going to it right now.
You're good. Consider taking the last 20 minutes to discuss specific actions Barbara should take. And we discuss actions. Like
we did a lot of actions.
Yeah. We're very good at integrating that. I was at the dentist this morning and like this part of my mouth is still numb. Having difficulties talking clearly. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And so, okay, yeah, so for the Okay, yeah, the 4 levels. Okay, yeah, so it's just asking the questions just about basically the 4 drives. Is that correct? Okay, yeah. Yeah, I think on the 4 drives, especially the drive to bond was like a really big one. Obviously, like the article talked about how like you need all 4 of them in order to succeed with motivation. But I felt like the drive to bond was a big issue for our group here for the case study.
Yeah, because none of them trust each other or like each other or want to work together. So there's clearly some bonding issues. I would say the drive to acquire is also an issue because they're like, we have no idea how, there's like no reward system, and they're like, does everybody get the same raises regardless of how well they work? And we don't understand how like the annual and regular performance reviews, we don't like understand what's happening exactly there. So
and I don't think they really even happened that well, because there wasn't a very good record of those reviews.
Yeah, so there's like no concrete way for them to say, okay, well, I need to improve in this area, and then there will be this reward or recognition or anything. It's just like nobody cares that one nurse worked so hard to stay up to date with everything and did all this continuing education. Just nobody noticed.
Yeah. Or even you could bring it in as a team and say, if we can get our customer service up to this level, or if we can get everybody's training up to this level, if everybody can hit this mark, then everyone gets like a bonus or something, or something, that you get some type of reward at the end of all that. And then that'll bring the team together.
Yeah, I'd say especially like in the process of like trying to get the team to bond and work together better, like it might be worth investing extra into those type of things to get things up and running better until people feel more of the emotional satisfaction of being at work, and then maybe less like monetary incentive on bonuses and things would be required because people are more interested and care more.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. One of the questions here below it, on the discussion agenda, it says that how well does GSU's performance management system fulfill the drive to depend and defend? And we just talking about their performance reviews not doing well. I think that definitely it's not satisfying at all their needs for that dependence and defending.
Yeah, and I think none of them feel safe at work, right? Either like they're defensive and feel like people are working against them, or people don't like them, whatever it is. There's not that safe environment that we discussed who knows how many weeks ago to like have a good team environment where you can be yourself and be the same person at work and at home and all that stuff. That's definitely not there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. And then it says like under the drive to comprehend, it says, how well does GSU's job design fulfill the drive to challenge and comprehend? I would say it definitely does a pretty good job as far as it, just like obviously being like they have their specific jobs. It's just that they're not feeling like they actually are able to like adequately or effectively, most effectively do their job.
Yeah, and I think like Haley mentioned, like if you kind of paired people up or assigned mentors to people, I think that could help, just the drive to kind of make a difference and teach someone else what you learn helps you learn stuff better and could help be a motivating factor to make the job more meaningful and learning, and like trying to set goals on training or continuing education, like Haley mentioned also. Excellent ideas. Would speak to that need, I think.
Yeah, that's true. Going with that, I was just thinking, how invested would I be in like a high turnover employee department to invest all this extra time and answer all these questions to someone that could just leave in a month or
Yeah.
leave a couple months. I just don't think I would be very motivated for that. With that mentor program in place, to be like, all right, well, you're in this program for at least your first 6 months and turn to this person, like kind of everything that we've been saying. I think that help the seniors morale with that. So they're not like, well, I'm just going to answer a few questions and they're going to leave. And then another one's going to come and then they're going to leave. But it'll be a little bit more consistent, a little bit more motivating to help them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you got to make a change or it's always going to be that way, right? So
And
at
I
some
think
point you have to say,
sorry,
go ahead.
sorry, keep going.
I was just saying at some point you have to say, this is worth investing in because maybe this can change the high turnover because not everyone has this problem. You know, maybe this is what we need to change.
Yeah. Well, I think once, like, I don't necessarily think they come into this job, into this unit, thinking I'm only going to be here for a few months, you know? I think they come into it because they probably want to be in the general surgery unit, you know? But the high turnover rate comes a few months later when they're like, this sucks. You know, like, this is no fun. I feel like everybody hates me. I feel like I don't do anything right. Or I feel like nobody knows what they're doing and blah, blah, blah. You know, like, so I don't think they come into it thinking I'm only going to be here for a couple months. And so that's where I think the buddy system can kind of nip that. If you can get the senior nurses to be on board with that and let them see the value of it, I think that the turnover rate will drastically go down.
Oh,
because
yeah.
people will enjoy their job.
Yeah, because they have to get rid of whatever is driving people away so fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they definitely like
It's
all
not
my
like a
relatives.
fast food thing where you're like, well, this is just to get me through like
Yeah.
the next few months, you know?
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. Yeah, I was just thinking a lot of my relatives who are nurses, like most of the time, like even my sister, I think she's been in, she now works, in the, I can't remember I can't remember what it stands for, but I think she's in I can't even remember. She's going to hate me when I have to ask her. But anyway, she's been in her current position where she's at, like her department, for the last 5 years, just because she likes the hours, she likes the people, and she likes that focus, just like the interest, like her area, she really likes that interest. Because before that, she worked at like a retirement home, kind of like an assisted living place, for elderly people, just because she wanted to work with the elderly more. Just because those hours worked better for her, and she also liked working with older people. She was kind of burnt out of the ER system, having been in the ER for I think she's in ER for 6 years. And she started when she was like 20 or 21 so that was, a long time.
Yeah. People will stay if they enjoy the people they work with.
Exactly, yes.
Because I know my husband turned down like a higher paying job when he first got the job he has right now. He turned down a higher paying job because he liked the company he worked with. He felt it stood for something better, but he also enjoyed the people that he worked with. And he's like, why would I go take this chance of this unknown thing? We just felt better about it. He actually turned down like a higher paying job because of where he worked.
Yeah, it's been pointed out in other case studies that we've done too, where people are like, it doesn't have to be the highest paying. If people feel fulfilled and safe and they love their work, that means more than a small salary change and things. So
yeah,
you want to keep going at something you hate for so long for the money.
Yeah.
Without your soul rotting inside of you.
Well, especially I think in something like nursing where there are so many areas that you could switch to and so many different types of jobs that you can do that you really don't have to settle for something you hate.
And the need everywhere. It's not like, they don't need any nurses in California. It's
well, and think of all the different like divisions, like even nursing homes and every aspect of the hospital and doctor's offices, and there's so many opportunities. There's the private sector, there's at home stuff. There's just so much you could do that I don't think people, that's why they're like, well, I'll just go work somewhere else. This isn't worth it. So
No, yeah, exactly. That's definitely true about, there's just so many options. Like, that's the nice part about the people in the case study is that they do have that, obviously there's a lot more career options or avenues to go down to, whereas other areas you have way less. And so let's see, with that, I'm trying to see, is there anything else that Barbara as a manager could do? I'm just like looking at the article and how it's like it talked about the role of direct manager. I'm trying to think, is there anything else she could do that would help influence those levers of motivation?
I don't know. We've talked about it a ton.
yeah,
I think as she's like trying to influence the unit that she's new to, that it's also important for her to like put effort into bonding and forming relationships with people, because she has a certain amount of influence, like as the boss who's paid to be their manager. But then if there's also a personal relationship, she'll understand the problems more and have more influence in trying to bring people along to be more positive and work out the problems and things.
Yeah.
Definitely. Okay, let's see. Again. So the only other really question, I mean, we've talked a lot about obviously what you can do is just like the definitive, it's of like, creating an action plan. And so, I mean, we can either create an action plan, or I've just been writing like notes on like obviously our suggestions for like possible solutions.
yeah, that's all I've been doing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've just been writing those kind of things. And then I'm probably honestly going to use most of the suggestions we said when I do my write-up. Just obviously have to write it up and phrase it a little more succinctly. But I'm trying to think, is there anything else?
We're good. I think we came up with a lot of good actions and specific ways that she could resolve the issues. So I think we're good there.
Okay.
I mentioned that I'm really glad that our meeting is on Tuesday morning before the write-up is due. So if we did it on Thursday, I would do the write-up and then we'd talk, and then I'd be like, man, I could have included all these other things that I didn't think of.
But then it's like you feel like you're already done with that assignment, so you're like, ugh, we still have to talk about this, but I'm already done with the assignment,
Yeah.
But you going in when we said what day we were available. Awesome.
All right. Well,
everything
we're good.
So next week we don't have a meeting, right? I was looking ahead.
We don't?
Pretty sure that that's true. Next week we don't have a group meeting, and it says just do it on yourself and do it by yourself. Do a write up, and then week 13 we have another one. I think it says it at the bottom of the case study activity or something. It says if you were assigned for next week, it's really week 13. So
okay,
there we go.
Wait.
One in Patagonia. All right.
Which are sorry, who's talking? Go ahead.
Yeah, it says you not meet with your group. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, so then I think our sheet is messed up because it had the wrong weeks listed, but I believe Haley is next in the rotation.
Okay.
Good for week 13?
Okay. Yep.
All right.
Sounds good.
All right. I'll see you guys.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye.